With that, I'm going to ask the panelists to introduce themselves. I'll start in the middle maybe with Dan. Dan Burgoni from?
Dan Burgoni, Senior Director of Business for Front of the House.
Chip?
Hi, I'm Chip McIntyre with Avendra, and for those that don't know what Avendra is, it's America's leading procurement services provider. So what that means is hotel management companies hire Avendra when they want to strategically manage their supply chain and leverage our $4 billion in hospitality spend to get good prices, an efficient supply chain that works well to help hotels serve their guests better.
Konstantin?
Yes, good afternoon everyone. My name is Konstantin. I'm one of the co-founders of BlueCart.
I'm David Turner, and I'm the editor and chief evangelist for Tabletop Journal. And you can check us out at tabletopjournal.com, but the panel discussion today is about these gentlemen, these experts. And what I really want to do in promoting and telling people about this panel discussion, the number one question I got back is, what the heck does BlueCart do and who are those guys? So I'm going to start the whole conversation off with Konstantin. Can you tell us a little bit about BlueCart and who you are?
Absolutely. So BlueCart is a procurement platform. What we do is bringing today's technology to the hospitality industry. The fact that a restaurant and a hotel has to use phone codes, faxes, emails to communicate their orders every single day is the exact problem that we're going after. So what we do is we provide them with a single platform. In many cases, it's mobile-based or web-based, such that they can communicate all their orders, alcohol, linens, foods, with all of their suppliers from one channel, right? What happens is that a supplier receives these orders and is able to essentially forego all their infrastructure development costs. They don't have to focus on developing a new app, a new website to process all these orders, right? So as a result, BlueCart has been growing exponentially. We launched July 2014. The first quarter, we were shooting to get 16 restaurants. We had 159 restaurants and hotels sign up. Second quarter, we were shooting to get 160. We crossed the 1,000, and today we have 21,000 restaurants and hotels using us across the US and overseas, right? We're growing at about 7,400 new restaurants and hotels per month. So essentially we're seeing that the platform is really accelerating, right? It's one of these markets that, as you all know, has been traditionally ignored by technology. So now that we're really paying attention and trying to optimize things for all venues, regardless of their economic power, right? We're seeing this exponential growth of the platform.
Thank you. Chip, as you're sitting there listening to Konstantin, I wonder what kind of technology, what kind of processes does Avendra use to help the operator make their purchases easier, simpler, whatever? Because the message I'm taking away there, you're trying to simplify everything. I'm sure Avendra doesn't view their processes as complicated. So what do you do to make everything easier for the operators that you deal with?
Well, for us, the commerce is directly between the supplier and our operators. So each hotel will set up a relationship with their master food distributor, call it US Foods, with their rooms distributor, maybe American Hotel Register, and their tabletop distributor, maybe Wasserstrom. And then they'll have a direct relationship where they're doing commerce in whatever way they'd like with them. It may be directly with them. It may be through some kind of purchasing system like Birch Street. But what we do is try to set it up in whatever way the hotel would like to do it so that the hotel can order however they'd like to and run their business in whatever way suits them best.
So you have the ability and you strive to customize that whole process per the client.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, good.
Yep.
And I wonder from the supplier, from the manufacturer's point of view, dealing with all this simplification, does it make your life simpler, Dan, or does it make it more complicated from the supplier side?
You know, I was really interested in being in that panel because I didn't know much about BlueCart. I'm starting to learn more, so I'm not sure if it's going to simplify or have zero effect, but I still need to know more about it. So today, FOH has two divisions, front of the house, which is tabletop and buffet products that we sell through distribution. The other side of our business is Room 360 by FOH, and that's the room accessory business. So tissue box covers, trash cans, that sort of thing, and that's sold direct to the hotel. So we've complicated things for ourselves.
So you've already made it complicated. That's great.
So
That's great.
simple would be good.
Konstantin, you were talking about some of the categories you deal with alcohol or produce or whatever. What do you, since we've got a tabletop person here, and I'm kind of partial to that category a little bit as well, what do you do for the tabletop suppliers or manufacturers? Do you work with them, or how would you work with them, and how would that be different than what I would call more higher velocity purchasing categories?
Absolutely. So something that's really fascinating, right? It's like what we have is, we have now a network of suppliers that essentially wake up in the morning, pull out their phone, log into BlueCart, and they can see from their phone that morning which one of their which one of their buyers has missed their order frequency. When you have access to this data, when you connect both sides of the equation, buyers and sellers, and you offer them these technologies, right? What you're able to have is unprecedented transparency into what's going on, right? So a supplier like you guys, right, would essentially have complete access to the purchasing patterns of each one of their buyers. They will know when one of their buyers misses their order frequency and enable them to react as fast as possible, right? There's no need to wait until that sales rep comes back from the field and tells us that we lost that account, right? Through BlueCart, they're able to see this immediately, right? Immediately they will know that this buyer is no longer purchasing from us. There's an issue with this account, right? And enables them to react very, very quickly, yeah?
When I'm thinking about now the frequency issue that you brought up, Konstantin, and with Avendra, how do you know if, to use, I think you said miss their buying,
Or their buying frequency, exactly.
buying frequency.
So
how do you follow that and know if somebody's either buying from an alternative source or whatever?
Well, that's where, so reacting to Konstantin's point, and this is a big theme, I think, for 2022, is just the access to information, then using information to help make decisions and understand what's going on in your business. So in the case of Avendra, what we do now is, it's quite a manual process. So we collect data from our suppliers, we compile that data in our systems, and then turn it around into a usable format for our customers to look at to evaluate their business. All that has a lag time. We're, I think, the best at what we do with it, but it still takes us a couple weeks to turn around the information so it's in a useful format for our customers to make decisions with. What Konstantin described is if you can take all the information and then make it real-time accessible, that would help a lot. So, and I think what he's doing is one of kind of the key pillars on using real-time information to make the supply chain work more efficiently. His business sounds like it'll help do that.
And Dan?
Yeah,
From a supplier side?
ditto for us. It's that lag time. We've made a big investment in 2015-16, and we're going to invest more in 17 in information and the speed of information. So that's exactly where we're spending a lot of our time and money. And all that information, knowledge is power. The sooner you know the good news or the bad news, the better. So,
Right.
big part.
You know, oftentimes when I'm talking to groups in our industry, we talk about the speed of business and how much it's changing exponentially almost every year, every 2 years. And business has changed so much in recent years, and it's speeding up and getting faster and faster. And when you look at international companies, people doing business offshore, whatever, suppliers, the transfer of information goes so quickly now. I think what you're talking about, how having that information readily available, I think that's really important. So, Konstantin, how do you digest all that?
now, so let me be very honest. The way that a restaurant or a hotel runs their operations today absolutely blows my mind. And I come from an investment banking background, so I'm kind of like used to data, but the amount of data and information and how accessible that data is today for these operators is extremely difficult, right? So that was something that we actively worked on and to solve at BlueCart. So you have operators today in BlueCart, right, that manage their inventory through their phone, right? And as a result, when they make their purchases, right, they know exactly what they have in-house. They know exactly what their par levels are. They know exactly what sales numbers were that day, so they know what they have to like purchase. They can access their historic data. So for example, like, you know, what happened in Mother's Day last year, right? And they can plan accordingly. They can look at their weekly trends and say, you know what, based on how customers are reacting or my community is reacting to the sales on my business, right? I should really buy more of these items because I'll be better prepared for these things, right? Now, something that's really fascinating, right, is that what BlueCart is working on right now is just like Waze. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Waze. It's this like traffic app, right, that reroutes you based on like accidents, right? What we're doing now is essentially crowdsourcing the data from our users, right, to educate them in their purchasing patterns. So for example, if I know that the Pope is going to come to New York, right, and all these streets are going to be frozen and cut off, right, and all my peers, they're buying less, you know, I should be informed of that thing right away. If there's a storm that's coming in, right, I should be informed of these things, right? I should be able to like react. There's an event happening, you know, next door, right, and every single restaurant around that, right? So those are things that we're working on BlueCart to essentially not just provide them data from their suppliers, provide them data from their existing, but provide data from their peers. Just because we're growing so fast, right, we're able to like analyze this data very quickly and circle it back to our user base.
So the theme Konstantin just talked about is about data and data usage, and that's supply chains. I think people often think of them as moving things around, people calling people and faxing people and putting stuff on trucks, and then people signing for things at docks, and that sort of old school thought about supply chains. Supply chains really are information systems. And if you look at one of the biggest supply chain companies in the world, Walmart would say that they're a technology company first, then they're a supply chain company second, and then they're a retailer third. But we all kind of think of them as a retailer. So now we're just getting to the point of information accessibility in systems that can process information. It can process information in a way that makes it relevant almost real time. Like I said, we kind of have a 2-week lag now with feeding information back to customers that we get from suppliers. So if we can speed that up, that's great. And I think we are getting now, there's enough computing technology in the world and enough bandwidth, et cetera, to be able to do those sorts of things that Konstantin is talking about.
I'm thinking, I had a conversation here in the aisles earlier today, and we were talking about inventory and inventory managing it. Who holds the inventory? Nobody wants inventory these days. You want just enough to get you through today, and then you want to replenish in the morning. What does that do to front of the house and room 360?
Well, we become the end of the trail for inventory. Distributors on our front of the house side of the business, which we sell through distribution, they're stocking less and less product. They're keeping less and less product on hand. It's all about turns to them. Well, it's turns for us too, but we are the end of the line when it comes to inventory. And along with the investment we're making in information and technology, we've always made an investment in inventory, especially on the Room 360 side, which is a direct sell model. We have instant response when you talk about, did you gain that order or have you lost an order? Because we sell direct, we know today is if something's missing. So it's a big part of the inventory plan we're doing and the information system.
But you told us earlier, you treat Room 360, that collection of products, quite a bit different than, in terms of supply chain, very different than front of the house.
Very different, yeah. Room 360 is a direct sell model. Front of the house goes through distribution, traditional food service distributors.
Okay.
Yep.
And how does BlueCart support traditional distribution? And you told me this once before, but I think the people find it interesting.
So, well, just to wrap up that inventory point, I mean, inventory levels were a personal issue for us. We at BlueCart care significantly about food waste, right? So as you can imagine, these venues, and then, you know, as they store high inventory, that has a direct correlation with waste, with theft, perishability, right? So the moment that you enable them to like run with leaner inventories, to more frequent, right? As a result, they start wasting less food, right? So that was one of the things that we personally felt that we had, just because we see a tremendous amount of like effort and initiatives that are tailored to like what to do with food waste, but there's not that many initiatives out there tailored to how to prevent food waste from happening, right? So when you bring digital inventory management and things of that nature, you start gaining this transparency and visibility, and you're able to react very, very quickly to inventory levels, right? So in terms of like how does a distributor manage or operate on BlueCart, I think that distributors are kind of like our sweet spot, right? Because what happens is that we have restaurants, we have hotels, right, that purchase from distributors. As a result, we know the exact data, like we're mentioning, of their POS, right? The orders coming in, right? We know their inventory levels, and as a result, we can start building predictive orders for them on the back end, right? So we're really streamlining operations in a very seamless manner for them.
But that, and what that then allows the whole supply chain to do is to get more efficient. So Konstantin talked about removing waste, but on the manufacturer distributor side, the reason they have to carry inventory in the first place is to achieve service levels. So that when a hotel calls and orders something, the thing is there and can be delivered the next day or 2 days later. So then if you can use that information to, one, get rid of waste, but then also reduce inventory while allowing distributors to achieve 98 and 99% service levels, then that's great. Everyone wins. The hotel gets what they need. Distributors and manufacturers don't have to carry a bunch of inventory, but there isn't waste because you haven't filled up the supply chain with stuff that ends up getting thrown out or lost or whatever.
I'm sitting listening to the resupply and serviceability of customers and operators, and I'm wondering, is the hospitality industry, whether you're a hotel or restaurant or any other kind of facility, medical facility, healthcare, everybody's trying to elevate a customer experience. How do new products get onto the radar screen at Avendra, or how do they get onto the radar screen at BlueCart? How do you find out? Come to shows like this, of course, but if there are products out there around the world that may be great for your customers, and they don't know about it, how do you bring those products to those clients already, or do you?
In our particular case, essentially, as restaurants start using BlueCart, they have their order guides as well as access to the electronic catalogs of these suppliers, right? So they can essentially log into their phone, do their daily purchases, and find out if my produce supplier has those avocados that I want, right? So they don't have to wait until tomorrow when that sales rep's gonna visit my venue, and at that point ask him if he supplies those avocados, right? I have electronic access to all that information from my phone.
But what if there's an avocado supplier who's I don't know about, who would be much better suited for me and give me a better quality product? How do I find out, if I'm an operator working with BlueCart, how do I find that out?
There's a vendor discovery piece today. So for example, somebody might be able to we have some restaurants in DC that started on BlueCart. So essentially they started doing the setup, building their restaurant, and starting making those connections with suppliers through the platform, right? And therefore they had access to those catalogs, right? Now, that's the extent of it. You can discover new suppliers on the platform. But what we want to make sure is that, it's a tool that's built to strengthen relationships between buyers and sellers, right? Such that if a supplier, for example, invites a buyer, right? We don't want to sever that relationship just because somebody is able to offer $2 less on lettuce, right? So the idea that, the idea that it becomes a price comparison platform is something that we're actively staying away from, right? What we want to do is strengthen those relationships, because there's so much more than $1 difference in the price of lettuce between that buyer and seller relationship, yeah?
And at Avendra?
Yeah, in the case of Avendra, we I think in addition to going to shows like this and the fine food shows and the NRA, et cetera, two places we look. It's client-driven and it's supplier-driven. So we're in constant dialogue with our clients, with the brands that are our clients, and then also the boutique firms that are our clients about what you're looking for, what sort of guest need you're trying to fill. And they have a lot of good ideas because they come to the shows and they look at things and talk to guests and get feedback from guests. The other thing is from suppliers. Almost all of our suppliers are great innovators. They develop new products. They want to show things. And so the role that we like to play is to facilitate the connection on the most relevant things our suppliers have with what our clients want. Quick example is about 2 weeks ago we had 5 or 6 ultra luxury clients together for a show at our headquarters. And we kind of solicited them for what sorts of things do you want to see, and then brought that in from suppliers. And it was interesting to see 5 or 6 clients from competing brands that compete for the same kind of customer in a room together. They weren't sharing ideas per se, but they were kind of looking at the same stuff, and they were whispering to each other and comparing notes and that kind of thing. So that's the sort of thing we can do, and we can bring that sort of thought together in an efficient way so that we can get several suppliers and several customers together instead of having 5 or 6 or 7 independent interactions.
Yeah, see, I walked the show a little bit today, and I see niche companies out here, small people, maybe a first-time exhibitor, and saying, "Hi, Avendra, even BlueCart, you guys only deal with leaders. How can I get my product in front of them besides the show?" And it's interesting to hear you say we go out actively to seek it, and plus you take input from the operators.
We do, yeah. And so, if there's a good idea and there's a customer need for it, and we think we can add value by working with a supplier, then we'll reach out to them. We do business with a lot of suppliers that are quite small and don't have much business now, but have the potential to have a lot of business. So as long as there's potential for that supplier to be really successful with our clients, then we'll engage with them.
I know you're sitting over there chomping at this.
It's good to be the customer.
It's good to be the customer.
And have 5 suppliers and are competing for them, trying to have the same conversation. You know, Dave, and you well know this, you know, for us it's about touch points. How many touch points can we impact every day, every minute, and a myriad of ways that we do that through trade shows just like this, through training, distribution, that sales team. We have our own sales team around the world. We really deal internationally. So the closer we are as a manufacturer to the conversation with the end user, whether it be a restaurant or a hotel or a club, because you hear what the need is. That person may have trouble describing what it is they're looking for or trying to solve, but the closer you're involved with that direct conversation, which we want to do every day, that's when we know we're bringing the right products to market. So how do you expose it? It's all these touch points. It's social media, it's outbound calls, it's every one of the sales contacts and sales calls that we make, from every level to somebody like Avendra to guys on the street calling on restaurants one at a time. It's a real ground game for the most part.
It's fascinating. And back to what I said earlier about the transfer of information. Today at the show, I get emails from people in Thailand who are watching what's going on here and asking about certain products. So the information goes in a nanosecond. And Konstantin, what is the secret with the phone? Is that
So I think it kind of like circles back to like the importance of relationships, like Dan mentioned, right? Like we're dealing with a population that is very time sensitive. They have very little time, very little availability, right? So if you're interacting with your buyers, you want that interaction to be as productive as possible. You don't want to waste those 5 minutes, those 15 minutes making that order collection exercise, right? Like 7 letters, 8 letters, that inventory, right? I want to spend those 5 minutes showing you new products. I want to spend those 5 minutes like helping you redesign the menu, redesign your venue, designing new stuff, helping you increase your profit margins, right? Like adding value, right? So what we do in particular is we remove all that painful part of that interaction, digitize it, remove human error from that, right? And enable suppliers to focus on what really matters, right? Which is, like managing that relationship and adding value.
And that's an important part that Dan and Konstantin both made, is that we're talking about the future, but what will remain the same in the future is the human engagement and the people engagement, especially in the hospitality business. I think Konstantin's right. If you can remove the non-value added interactions like order taking, that's great, because then you can sit down and talk about how's the business. In our case, we can get feedback on how suppliers are doing. We can get feedback on what do people want to innovate around. And that's what we ask our team. We have a big field team that's out talking to the hotels, getting feedback, understanding needs, understanding supplier performance. So if we can get rid of sort of the desk time of pulling together the report and more time in front of customers, then that's a good thing, I think.
With Avendra, what are best practices, whatever buzz term you want to put to it, what do the best vendors do right with Avendra? What makes them a great vendor, a supplier with a company like Avendra?
If I had to put it in one sentence, it would be they do a great job for our customers and take good care of our customers. And that's what we spend a lot of time managing suppliers, sharing information with the suppliers, getting feedback from customers. A really important thing to us is what we call supply chain assurance. So once we've contracted with suppliers to make sure that they're going to deliver every day, day in and day out, and do a good job for customers, service levels are going to be good, the price they charge is going to be accurate, quality assurance is going to be there, the reliability is going to be there. There's going to be an innovative spark with them, so they are going to engage with customers and understand what they're going to try to do. So that's really, and we are pretty, I'll admit, pretty ruthless with sharing feedback. I think ruthless in a good way, ruthless in a very honest and transparent way with them, to say that this is how you're doing and this is where we need you to focus, or this, you're doing a great job, keep doing it.
Yeah, Dave, it's interesting to listen to both sides here because we make stuff. We design and manufacture everything up for both sides of our company, so we like to talk and show our stuff. So being just a 15-year-old company, and I remember when I wasn't with Front of the House since day one, but had a little tiny booth in the back of this show, a little 10-foot booth, and every year we were a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. But through everything that you've just described and how we've got our message out, we now have, one of the largest booths here at the show. You can tell the people that come to us every year and ask the question, what's new? So that's the really gratifying part, and that's getting our message out there.
But back to Avendra for a second. I understand that the majority of your clients are in the hotel side. If I'm a very small niche provider of whatever, soaps or tabletop or whatever, what do I have to do to get my product considered by Avendra? That's one side of it. And the second side of it, if I'm a hotel and I'm looking for something unique and different in whatever, do I have to go out and find it and bring it to Avendra, or will Avendra present that to me?
Starting with the supplier side, there's a couple different ways. I think a pretty reliable way is we have on our website, we have a supplier inquiry section of it, which I think is about to be redesigned. So we're about to update that. But I think it's still functional, but if you happen to go on it in the next couple weeks, it may say under construction or something like that. But we look at all of those. So we really do. We don't necessarily look at them right away, but when we have an initiative that's relevant for that particular supplier, then we do take a look at it to see if there's anything interesting. I think last year we got 1,500 or 1,500 supplier inquiries sent to us, and we do look at them. So that's one way. Another way is it shows like this. So as we're walking around, we do try to meet people. There's a couple people from my team here. There's a couple people from some other functions of Adventure here. So we go and explore and see what's going on. And then from clients, if clients are interested in something and they have a good reason, kind of our litmus test is, does it make sense for us to get involved? Meaning, can we add value to that
Sure.
relationship? Or not. If we can't, then we'll say to our clients, guys, just go ahead and do it on your own. You're better off. We're not going to be able to help you. Yeah, or go to BlueCart. And so two things. If we can add value, and then if we think that supplier has potential, then we'll reach out to them.
Again, often parts of this business are so tactile, and we get caught up in data. I love data, but at some point it's about the guest experience, the customer experience too, and it's a real tactile. What does this cup and saucer do for me? What does this wine glass do for me? What does this whiskey glass do? How do you at BlueCart bring those things forward to your customers who it might benefit from it, might be better? Do you wait for the supplier to bring it to you, or do you wait for the operator?
Well, in that sense, what we do is we maximize the interaction between a buyer and a seller in a meaningful way, right? Such that they don't have to waste the time in those non-value added activities, right? Such that that interaction can be about a discussion around new products, about where can I find this, where can I find that, how can I add this to my menu, and things of that nature, right? Something that really fascinates me, right, is, and this is something that we're relatively new to this industry, right? We're about 2.5 years old, right? Is that supplier turnover, so those relationships between buyers and sellers they don't change that frequently as one would imagine, right? Meaning that the value that a supplier provides to a buyer, right, is much more than we anticipated. We see less than a 5% turnover from these buyer-seller relationships, meaning that, in addition to those, the differences in product, right, the fact that you supply to me on a Sunday, that you know how I want my product delivered, that you know when to deliver my product, and essentially you know how I pay, and things of that nature, right, have much more value than essentially switching to another supplier that I know nothing about, right? So in many cases, we see buyers that are much more accommodating, trying to like deal with these long-lasting relationships, you know, and trying to like find value within those existing suppliers that they have.
Dan, at front of the house, I'm sure you like long-term relationships with buyers.
As Konstantin is saying that, I'm thinking loyalty. And yes, so we've been very fortunate. We've talked about a couple of things here is what makes that relationship work and when do you rely on people. And it's really what Chip said too is it's just doing your job every day. And given that whether it's a Marriott in Kansas City or a restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia, if they can rely on you and you're there, you're going to have a loyal customer for a long time.
I know we could go on in this conversation for a lot longer, but I promised all these people that it would be a Q&A session, and I think this might be the most interesting part of it. So if you've got, we've got, I think, a pretty diverse audience. So are there questions from suppliers or even operators out here for any of these three gentlemen? Yes? No? Hold on, Jim.
Hi, Jim Schultz with Vertex China. So you're on the BlueCart. Somebody can place an order easy enough. Do you also allow an end user to go in and look at the distributor inventory, track orders, and the whole after the purchase function so they can get real-time information to see if their B&B plates are in stock?
Exactly. So it's a two-sided marketplace or a two-sided platform, right? So the moment that the supplier updates their inventory, updates product availability, that immediately hits your buyer's information. So they know that you're out of stock of that product. What's beautiful about BlueCart is that there's in-app communication. So the moment that you send an order, the moment that to your suppliers can actually chat with you and say, hey, listen, I'm out of that product, as you know, right? Is there a way that I can substitute it for this other product? And essentially streamline that one-to-one communication that we try to like enable through these mobile devices.
Any other questions? I've got a question, and I'll tell you, it's mostly towards Avendra, but also to BlueCart. If I'm a traditionally, one of the trends we see, especially in tabletop, is a trend, not completely, but a trend towards being more consumer-type products. It used to be that you bought dinnerware and Chinaware and you kept it for 5 to 7 years. That's not the case anymore. You're in for 3 months, you're out, you're buying, you're mixing and matching. So it speaks to, I talked to somebody earlier about chefs and hotel operators shopping at Crate and Barrel, for instance. How does Avendra bring that type of a product that's technically outside of the hospitality range, whether it's dinnerware or whatever it might be, to that customer base, to move the client, the customer experience for their customers up? If they're looking for something special, how will Avendra ever find out about a retail type product? Maybe a retail dinnerware product. And then I'm going to come back to you, and I want to hear how BlueCart gets those as well.
Yeah, and that trend exists everywhere. It's not just in the dining room. It's in banquets. It's in rooms, with rooms feeling a little more like a retail sort of setting. And so the way we do it is by working with suppliers to say, and suppliers know they see the same thing, that it's moving that way. And so the commercial manufacturers are moving to a more retail feel because they need to. I think the other thing that we do is we do encourage clients to go and find those companies that have those offerings for us so that we can go and evaluate the suppliers and try to educate the suppliers on what it takes to do business with us. In some cases, it's manufacturers that haven't done business in a commercial setting or in a food service type setting, so we can help educate them a little bit on what sorts of requirements are needed from a service level standpoint, from a durability standpoint. Because the reality is the more suppliers that are good at that sort of thing, the better it is for our customers.
Sure. I see that in the products that are at this show.
Yeah, from the BlueCart perspective, I mean, we supply all kinds of products. So from perishables, non-perishables, tableware, plastic goods, paper goods, linens, whatever they might need, except furniture. We haven't seen a furniture supplier. Now, knowing that knowing what BlueCart has to offer and knowing that BlueCart is free, there's no reason why any supplier should not give BlueCart a try, right? Like you come to BlueCart, upload your inventory, connect with your buyers, and offer them immediately mobile and online access to your products, right? And in a way that it costs you zero, right? So there's no need to like start considering, you know, what am I going to do to develop the new mobile app? What am I going to do with the new iOS system, an e-commerce website, right? Knowing that BlueCart exists, that's kind of like a ludicrous expense to have.
Dave, on the look that people are looking for, you're absolutely right. The trend is to that more home-like experience. Sure. But what the end user's really looking for, that restaurateur, is maybe a home appearance, but a commercial durability and functionality. So they may go to Crate and Barrel once. They probably won't go back because it's just not providing enough oomph in that environment that it's got to survive. So that becomes a real balancing act for us.
But even, especially with front of the house, maybe, your products are very, very, while they're functional, they're also very design-driven, consumer-like products, but yet they work in the back of the house as well. So that trend is going to continue, I think.
Spend a lot of time on design and development.
And now you're going, and this is another piece for both you gentlemen too, front of the house is going now into more customization.
Absolutely, big part of our business is customization, both on the Room 360 for special colors, special materials, special sizes. On the front of the house side, same thing. We've, the changes that have happened in the dinnerware world in the past couple of years have been just phenomenal. But yes, customization, whether it's putting a logo on your plate or adding a color within the hotel room that's unique to a particular brand, big part of our business.
But how do you two gentlemen provide that customization service for your operators?
Absolutely. In my particular case, well, in BlueCart's particular case, about 80% of our existing suppliers have customized pricing, right? So they want distinctive views of their catalog for each one of their suppliers, right? This is, as you can imagine, as a supplier, is a daunting task to like manage so many different catalogs. But with something like BlueCart, right, you have a default catalog, a master catalog, that cascades and updates every single one of your dependent catalogs, right? So like, it makes what today is a daunting task very streamlined for your operations, yeah?
And in the case of Avendra, it's having a supply base that can meet all the needs that our customers have. So it's doing business with companies like Front of the House, and then in finding suppliers that can meet multiple levels of needs and requirements, but then also not all suppliers are made to do all things, and so it's having multiple suppliers that can meet the needs, and then having it priced appropriately. So in the case of a customer that just wants the plate that's not printed, is offering that to that customer that's looking for more value, but then being able to accommodate the supplier that's able to provide that value, print the plate, ship the plate, and then allow the supplier to make a good return on providing that value to our customer.
The last piece on customization, and it's a surprise to the operator, is for custom, there's minimums involved in whatever your piece you're doing. Most operators can meet a minimum for that first order. We need 100 dozen plates. The catch is, what happens when I need 12 dozen replacements? What we've done on the supply chain side is we provide that inventory. Because we do a lot of the customization right in-house in Miami, we've got that inventory ready to go. So you don't have to buy 100 dozen, you can buy 4 dozen.
We've got a question in the back here on data.
Yes, I was wondering if you could comment on the crowdsourcing of data. Does that put anybody at a disadvantage? Maybe we don't want our neighbors to know what's going on.
Well, I mean, think about when you use Waze, right? And if there's a traffic accident, right? Is there anybody who's disadvantaged by accessing that information, right? The answer is obviously, whoever had the accident, right? But ideally, no. This is data that everybody wants to have access to. This is data that everybody can benefit to, right? And it's not data that's intended to essentially give somebody a step up over me, right? The idea of BlueCart is to make technology a tool that enables a business, right? It's not a tool that is designed to stifle, your competitors, right? It's a tool that is, we see technology as a tool to enable business, right? So that's our view of the world, right? So that's why any restaurant, regardless of their size, any supplier, regardless of their size, today can have mobile and online ordering at no cost, right?
So where does the revenue for BlueCart come in?
We do it in a couple of ways.
I have to ask the question. As,
sure.
as a guy who lived through lots of rebates, lots of pounding on suppliers for money, where does the revenue stream
Yeah.
come?
So we do it just like LinkedIn, right? So LinkedIn has a very free base model that 90% of the people use, right? And as a result, that free LinkedIn, you see ads. That's how we monetize the free user base. And then if you want to like upgrade and do additional services, tools, predictive analytics, and things of that nature, then you subscribe to premium features.
Additional questions? In the back. Hold on. Because everybody will want to hear your question.
I was just wondering, like, do y'all have a system that if something doesn't work, like they can remove it from future orders so that they can have like a better revenue, like based off of what they buy?
If things go off the rails, what do I do then? Or how do I get that off future orders? Is that your question? I think it's, I don't want to, go ahead, Chip. I don't want to answer for Avendra, but I think.
Well, in the case of ours, it would be, so if there's a product that someone ordered that just didn't work, we would get that feedback, and then we problem solve it right away to try to figure out, was that a one-time problem, or is it a systemic thing, or what? And then work with the distributor and the manufacturer to figure out what the right solution is. In some cases, it may be discontinuing the product and taking it off of the catalogs that we offer to customers. In other cases, it may be going back to the manufacturer and sharing the feedback on this was the user experience with this thing, and ask them to make a modification and put the product on hold until the product is working the right way. So it kind of depends on what the circumstance is, but the important thing is that we get the feedback and then start to problem solve it right away so that we're taking care of our operators so that they can work efficiently.
And I'm guessing that if you have similar problems with a single supplier, pretty soon they're no longer a supplier, or at least not a recommended supplier.
Yeah, that's right, right.
And I mean, the answer is exactly the same. You know, BlueCart, it's a live system, right? So if something is discontinued, it immediately affects the way that buyer sees those products. So in that sense, it enables that immediate reaction from buyer, seller, and seller, buyer.
You'll never have that problem with front of the house or room 360, though.
Never.
They're always okay.
We're the end of the line on
End
those
of the
kinds of
line.
conversations.
The warehouse. Other questions? I feel like Geraldo.
Hard here. Our group back here is the University of Mississippi, just so you know. So I'm a teacher at the University of Mississippi. I teach the purchasing class. And obviously you're talking about technology, and that's a big part of it. And besides talking about using your platforms or your products, could you tell me just some concepts, topics, general things that if my students left my class that you think they would need to know, just as far as in the general world of purchasing?
Who wants to check?
Sure. So from the restaurant perspective, right? And as you all can imagine, prices from suppliers fluctuate on a daily and weekly basis at a minimum, right? And I'm sure that you have realized that the menu prices of your restaurants actually do not change that frequently, right? So what happens is that in many instances, you have restaurants, because they don't have access to technology, that they're selling products that are not profitable. And they're not able to react to that lack of profitability until the next time that they redesign the menu. And that blows my mind, right? Like, they can actually have a product in their menu that's losing money, right? And it's just because, like, you know, they purchase on average 300 products, SKUs every month, right? So can we expect somebody with no access to technology to review price changes of 300 items every week? I mean, the answer is that I cannot do that, right? So without technology, right, it's fascinating how this industry has been operating for such a long time.
Probably the biggest thing I would say is purchasing, in my opinion, is a balance of two things. One is creating competitive tension for a time period, but then also having a very human dynamic to it. So on the one hand, creating competitive tension, one could argue a simple way to do that is do a reverse auction, put a spec out there, get 35 suppliers to bid on it, and hopefully watch the price go down. I'd argue there's maybe some usefulness for that, but not in all circumstances. Because then once the price has been negotiated down to whatever, $1, there's then going to have to be a discussion about, okay, what are the rest of the deal points? What are the service levels going to be? How are you going to take care of the customer? If there's a problem, what are you going to do? You want to make sure that the spec that you put out there, that supplier can actually achieve. So, so I think, but the competitive tension I think is good. You do want that element because that draws out the best in all of us. It draws out the best in suppliers to make sure that they are doing all they can for that piece of business while making sure they're earning a fair return. But it's not just that. There is a lot of human element to it, and there's a lot of people interactions, and I do think I want to enjoy having our suppliers come see us and having conversations with them and having dinner with them, because that's a great part of the business as well.
I guess it makes me say it's good to be the customer again.
Dan, did you like that competitive tension?
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah,
Loved
okay,
it.
thought you would.
Hey, listen, we don't. I'll go into battle against 5 guys in the room doing the same thing any day of the week if we get our chance to say what we do, how we do it, and what we promise. There's pick your product, dinnerware or something in rooms. There's a cost to buy the product and there's a cost to use the product. So you could find a plate at half the price of my plate, but you're probably going to have a bad experience with it. So it's human, it's product, it's what we promise is what we deliver. So big part of it.
Any other questions?
Hi, this is for BlueCart. What makes BlueCart different from Birch Street or Buy Efficient that makes customers or hotels lean towards you than your competitors?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, number one, BlueCart is a tool for absolutely everybody. So we have hotels like Four Seasons, Ritz, Marriott, Kaiser Permanente hospitals, school districts, universities, restaurant groups, mom and pop shops, food trucks using BlueCart. This is essentially, it's a tool that was built for everybody to use. And that is because of this intention of essentially like benefiting the entire population of, and crowdsourcing this data, right? So that's number one. And number two, if you go through the user experience, hopefully, right, you would see that it's very, very pleasant. It was designed, and this is no longer between us, now it's between everybody, but it was designed such that my mom could actually place an order using BlueCart, right? So it's super, super simple, right? So, but it's one of these tools that is like very intuitive, right? And the beauty of it is that since it's a two-sided platform, right? You have buyers and sellers that are pushing the use of BlueCart to both sides of the equation, right? So in this sense, it's not one of these things, one of these platforms that promotes price comparison, right? What we do is essentially we offer these technologies to improve efficiencies and drive profitability to all sides of the equation, yeah?
Any other questions? Well, first of all, thank you very much. We've gone a little bit longer than I'd said, but the questions I thought were great. Thank you as an audience. I'm sure these gentlemen will be here for a few more minutes if you have very specific questions and want to say, ask them off to the side. Do me a favor, give us some feedback on what you thought was good, what you thought we could do better next time, and the recertification point forms I think are up there. So with that, again, thank you, panelists.
Thank you.